Hello and welcome to a brand new series, Patronizing Explanations. In this series, I give watchers a quick introduction to how something works in a way that's more than a little condescending. In a way where I act like I'm trying to be helpful, but you can tell I'm being kind of a dick. Our first topic, soccer, or football, if you like. Why am I, of all people, doing a video about sports? Because it's World Cup time and I can't think about anything else. Just let me get this out of my system. Part 1. Soccer is normal. This video is made for the layperson, the one who doesn't really follow the sport that much and doesn't know much about it. Someone who, statistically, is probably American. Which is good, because I happen to know that most of you are American, with apologies to the 11% of you watching this from the UK right now. And if you are from the US, you may not know where to start. There's a myth that soccer is part of some fundamental and insurmountable difference in personality between us and the rest of the world. A cultural wall that makes our respective favorite sports mutually incomprehensible. Different versions of this myth hold that there's either a deficiency in Americans for failing to appreciate soccer, or a deficiency in the rest of the world for appreciating it too much. Hogwash, I say. Poppycock, balderdash, and fiddlesticks. Malarkey, too. Soccer is normal. It's just another sport. No, it's not like baseball or basketball, but baseball and basketball are not like each other either, and neither of them is like hockey, which is not like gridiron football, which is not like you get the idea. If you start watching soccer, you'll quickly notice all of the things that seem familiar. Players and fans behave the same ways. People have the same arguments. Commentators traffic in cliches that are every bit as bland and irritating as ours. If you have it in you to like American team sports, you have it in you to like soccer. You just have to learn how. Perhaps a patronizing explanation would help. Let's get started. Part 2. Possession. If you're not familiar with the game, and this video assumes that you're not, it can be hard to know where to start. You might not know how to watch the game, what to look for, or be able to describe with confidence what makes one team better or worse than another. You might even suspect that the game comes down too much to random chance, that whichever team gets a lucky bounce at the right time wins. All these misunderstandings and confusions are linked to one of our greatest myths about soccer, that it's boring. Lots of people think it's boring, even though it features more uninterrupted activity than any other major team sport. This is because they perceive games to look something like this, where there are a handful of important moments and everything else is just random activity. Well, that does seem like it would be boring, but fortunately it's not an accurate picture of the game. Instead, every goal should be thought of as the culmination of a chain of cause and effect. You score because you kicked the ball in the goal. But you had the ball with a seam to score because a teammate knocked it back to you after winning a challenge in the box. He won that challenge because one of your opponents was forced into a risky back pass. He was forced into that back pass because another teammate of yours was closing him down. Your teammate was closing him down because their center back had just blocked a cross, because your winger had beaten their fullback, because he'd received the ball in space in a dangerous area, because a teammate found him with a good pass, a pass he was able to make because your team had collectively settled into possession. And if I were to go through this same process with other goals, tracing them back to their ultimate cause, most of them would end with the word possession. And this gets to the heart of what I consider to be the biggest practical difference between soccer and the team sports Americans are accustomed to. In basketball or American football, for example, retaining possession of the ball is relatively easy. Sure, there are steals and interceptions and fumbles, but these are not the typical outcome of a play. In soccer, the typical outcome of winning the ball is to lose it again, often after just a few seconds. Changes in possession are nearly constant, and just keeping the ball becomes a collective high-wire act requiring several people to all pass and move to the right spots at the right time. This is what can make the sport initially frustrating to watch. It seems like each team is struggling mightily to achieve what in other sports is considered to be the bare minimum standard of competence. But if you can accept this basic difference and get past it, you're on the first step to appreciating what's either one of the greatest or the greatest sports in the world. Part 3. The Beautiful Game. I'm going to take a second to switch gears in sports here to American football, and its most prestigious position, quarterback. If American football games were stories, the quarterback would be the main character in most of them. This despite the fact that they're usually not the strongest player on the field, or the fastest, or the most agile. It's their mental qualities that are celebrated more so than the physical ones. A good quarterback is one who makes the right decisions, who remains calm under pressure, and who can process a lot of visual information quickly. Strength and speed, while helpful, are not as important as composure and alertness. The reason I mention this is to make the following analogy. In soccer, every player is the quarterback. Every player bears the collective responsibility of making the right decisions quickly under pressure. If they do, they're rewarded with one of the game's most valuable resources, possession. In American sports, we often describe our top athletes with words like powerful or dominant. In soccer, there's a word they use to describe the top players that you don't typically see over here: genius. I don't know if, say, Lionel Messi will ever produce a workable unified field theory, but when it comes to football, he's a genius because his is a creative act. Creative in the artistic sense, but also in the religious one. Because a group of creative players working together can pull a fleeting but unforgettable moment of sublime order out of chaos. When you see that, and understand it and appreciate it, it's a thing of beauty. And when you see it, and understand it and appreciate it, you'll realize why they call this the beautiful game.
I hit the ball first time, and there it was in the back of the net!
Part 4. Tactics. Tactics is the word that describes what combination of players you put on the pitch, what their instructions are, where they're supposed to stand, how close they're supposed to stand to each other, and what they should and shouldn't do in both attack and defense. In other words, the boring stuff, at least according to some people. Those people may also tell you that tactics are an advanced thing, too weird and complicated for someone who doesn't have much experience with the game. But in my opinion, an understanding of tactics is a valuable tool, even to someone who's just started seriously watching. And they can be immensely complex, but for our purposes I'm going to keep everything as simple as I can manage. In soccer, you either have the ball or you don't. Attack is what you do when you do have the ball. Defense is what you do when you don't. Your attack can be quick or it can be slow. Same with defense, quick or slow. And describing something as slow is usually criticism, so I'll substitute the word patient. The choice between quick and patient is usually some kind of risk versus reward calculation. A team that attacks quickly risks giving the ball back to their opponent with a too hasty pass. The potential reward is that they can get the ball forward before their opponents can run back and get into position to defend. A team that attacks patiently risks misplacing a pass in their own half and giving the ball to the other team in a dangerous area. The potential reward is that they can hold possession and move the ball around until they find a skilled player in a promising position. A similar calculation is made in defense. A team that defends quickly risks pressing too high up the field and leaving gaps behind them. The potential reward is that they can quickly win the ball back, often high up the field and in a position to immediately threaten their opponents. The team that defends patiently risks giving the other team too much time on the ball to line up a potentially dangerous pass. The potential reward is that the enemy won't be able to break down the compact and disciplined obstacle in front of them. If there are 2 ways to attack and 2 ways to defend, then there are 4 possible combinations of the 2. Now, of course, there are more than 4 ways to play football, but remember that we're trying to keep things as simple as possible here. If you're familiar with these 4 broad categories, then you have a starting point from which to understand the game. Let's look at each one in turn. A quick attack and quick defense means that if you lose the ball, you immediately try to swarm the opposing players and win it back, and once you've won it, you move directly into attack, hopefully before your opponent can recover. This is sometimes called an up-tempo style, and it has become the stereotypically English style of play, even if Germany is a better example of it in the upcoming tournament. A quick attack and a patient defense means a disciplined and cautious defensive shape which, upon winning the ball, attempts to move it up the field as quickly as possible. This is also called the counter-attacking style. It's very popular and is more associated with Italy than any other one place. A patient attack and a quick defense means that the team uses intricate passing patterns to retain possession, and in the event they lose the ball, they immediately press high up the pitch to win it back. This style, which not everyone is equipped to play, has come to be called tiki-taka, and is the trademark of the Spanish team. Finally, a patient attack and a patient defense will seek to hold the ball and work it around in possession, and, upon losing it, will retreat to their own half to defend. I've given names to the other 3 styles, so I guess I'll call this one Joga Bonito, even though that term doesn't exactly refer to this tactical approach. This is the stereotypically Brazilian style of play. Now, you may have noticed that there are more than 4 countries in the world, and even the 4 countries I've listed here don't necessarily fit cleanly into the categories I've pigeonholed them into. But remember, this is a patronizing explanation designed to be simple, designed to give you a place to start. In reality, every team occupies a unique space in the multidimensional range of tactical possibilities. And in the World Cup, these are more than just abstractions. They're invested with an entire culture. Each is a mix of how a country sees itself, how they would like to see themselves, how others see them, and how they actually are. It's not just one football side versus another, it's one national identity versus another, one philosophy versus another, which may help you to understand just how high the stakes really are.
Jimmy, at least one aging football commentator was gladdened last night by the sight of an English footballer breaking free of the limpid tentacles of packed Mediterranean defence.
Good evening, Brian.
Part 5. Well, that's over, and thank God. Now go watch a few World Cup games instead of listening to me drone on about it. Next up, it's back to video games and such, and the characters therein. See you relatively soon.